In today's fast-paced world, we're constantly bombarded with information, opinions, and demands for our attention. The need to respond, react, or share our thoughts is overwhelming. Everyone expects us to speak up, defend ourselves, and express our emotions immediately. But what if the most powerful response to life's challenges isn't speaking at all? What if, in a world filled with noise, the most impactful thing we could do is remain silent? Silence, in the context of Stoic wisdom, is not just the absence of words. It's a deliberate, conscious choice to refrain from reacting impulsively. It's a powerful strategy that can help us build emotional resilience, strengthen our relationships, and create lasting peace in our lives. Today, we'll explore a Stoic strategy that is quieter than no contact, but louder than any words could ever be. It's a strategy grounded in self-control, inner peace, and emotional mastery. Let's dive into how we can embrace this Stoic wisdom in our daily lives and transform the way we respond to the world around us. The power of silence, a Stoic approach. Let's begin by asking ourselves, why do we feel compelled to respond to every situation? Why do we feel the need to always defend our position, challenge others, or assert our opinions? In a world where we're constantly urged to speak up, to make our voices heard, the Stoic philosophy offers a refreshing perspective. The most powerful thing you can do sometimes is remain silent. The Stoics understood that true power lies not in external events, but in our internal responses. We cannot control the world around us, but we can control how we react to it. Silence, when chosen deliberately, becomes a tool of profound strength. It's the ability to pause, to reflect, and to choose a measured, thoughtful response instead of reacting impulsively or emotionally. Silence allows us to cultivate inner peace, and in turn, we bring that peace into our interactions with others. A Stoic practice, mastering self-control. Imagine being in a heated argument or facing an unjust criticism. Most people would feel the urge to defend themselves, to react, to speak their mind and prove their point. But the Stoic response is different. The Stoics believe that true freedom comes from self-mastery, and self-mastery means controlling your reactions, not being controlled by your emotions. Seneca, one of the greatest Stoic philosophers, once said, "We suffer more often in imagination than in reality." What he meant is that a lot of our pain and suffering comes from the way we perceive situations, not from the events themselves. Our interpretations of situations, fueled by emotional reactions, create unnecessary suffering. When we feel anger, frustration, or resentment rising, the Stoic teaches us to pause. Instead of reacting impulsively, we should take a step back, reflect, and choose a response that aligns with our values. By mastering self-control, we learn that our reactions are within our power to shape. No contact versus silence. What's the difference? You've probably heard of the no contact rule, particularly in the context of relationships. It's often a strategy to avoid further emotional damage by cutting off communication with toxic people. It's a way of protecting ourselves from further hurt or manipulation. While the no contact rule can be useful in certain situations, the Stoic approach to silence is deeper and more intentional. No contact is sometimes driven by a desire to escape pain or conflict. It can be a reaction to emotional exhaustion or frustration. On the other hand, Stoic silence is not about running away. It's about responding with wisdom and clarity. It's about maintaining inner peace regardless of the external circumstances. When a Stoic chooses silence, it's a conscious decision to create space for calm and reflection. It's not motivated by fear or avoidance, but by a desire to stay centered and grounded. By remaining silent, we create room for better decision-making and a more thoughtful response. The strength of silence in relationships. Silence is one of the most powerful tools in our relationships, but it's often misunderstood. In moments of conflict or misunderstanding, our instinct is to speak, to defend, or to correct. But the Stoic teaches us that silence can be just as powerful, if not more so. In relationships, particularly when emotions are running high, silence allows us to step back and gain perspective. When we remain silent, we give ourselves the time to reflect on our own emotions and the situation at hand. We avoid saying things we might regret in the heat of the moment, and we create space for the other person to express themselves fully. Sometimes silence in relationships isn't about avoidance, but about creating an opportunity for deeper communication. By choosing silence, we allow ourselves to respond with empathy, understanding, and wisdom. This is not about letting others control us, but rather, it's about taking control of our own emotional state. Silence is a tool for emotional resilience. When life becomes overwhelming and we're faced with difficulties, whether it's personal challenges, setbacks, or external pressures, our instinct is often to react. We feel the need to fight back, to prove a point, or to make our voices heard. But the Stoics understood that in times of adversity, silence is one of the most powerful tools for emotional resilience. In difficult moments, silence allows us to avoid escalating conflict or intensifying our own emotions. It's a tool for calming the mind, for creating space between stimulus and response. In this space, we find the ability to choose our reactions deliberately. Rather than reacting in anger or frustration, we can respond with clarity, strength, and wisdom. The Stoic philosopher Marcus Aurelius said, "You have power over your mind, not outside events. Realize this, and you will find strength." By remaining silent, we exercise that power over our own minds. We refuse to let external circumstances control our emotions. Instead, we remain calm, composed, and in control of our response. The deep reflection of silence. Silence, when practiced intentionally, is not just the absence of sound. It's an opportunity for deep reflection. In our busy world, we're constantly inundated with distractions. We rarely take the time to stop and think deeply about our experiences, our actions, and our emotional responses. But the Stoic way encourages us to reflect before we act. Silence allows us to connect with our inner selves. It gives us the opportunity to pause and assess the situation before we react. In those moments of stillness, we can think about our values, our goals, and how we want to respond. It's in these moments of reflection that we find true wisdom. By taking time to reflect before reacting, we gain clarity and perspective. We move beyond emotional reactivity and instead respond from a place of thoughtfulness, wisdom, and purpose. Living a Stoic life through silence. Living the Stoic life means embracing emotional mastery in all areas of life. It's not just about choosing silence in specific situations. It's about adopting a mindset that prioritizes self-control, reflection, and inner peace. When we practice silence, we choose not to be swept away by the tide of emotions or the noise of the world. Instead, we cultivate a sense of calm and clarity, allowing us to make decisions with wisdom and integrity. This practice of emotional mastery enables us to navigate life's challenges with strength and resilience. Ultimately, the Stoic approach to silence is not about retreating or avoiding conflict. It's about standing firm in the face of adversity, choosing to remain calm and composed, and responding with wisdom rather than impulsive emotion. In the noisy, fast-paced world we live in, there is an ever-present pressure to speak, to defend ourselves, and to be heard. Society tells us that silence is weakness, that we must always voice our opinions, stand our ground, and make ourselves known. But what if the most powerful thing you could do in many situations isn't to speak at all? What if the answer lies in silence? A silence that is deeper and more impactful than the so-called no-contact rule, and louder than words ever could be? The Stoics, whose philosophy has stood the test of time, understood that there is immense power in silence, not the kind of silence that comes from avoidance or fear, but the kind of silence that comes from conscious choice, self-control, and emotional resilience. This is a silence that transcends words and becomes a strategic tool for personal growth, conflict resolution, and inner peace. The Stoic approach to silence. The Stoic philosophers believed that the key to a peaceful and fulfilled life lies not in changing the external world, but in changing how we respond to it. Life is full of unpredictable challenges, difficult people, unfair situations, and setbacks. In these moments, our natural instinct might be to react, to speak out, or to defend ourselves. We feel the need to justify our actions, explain ourselves, or stand our ground. But the Stoics teach us a different approach. Instead of reacting impulsively or emotionally, we can choose silence. The Stoic approach to silence is rooted in the principle of control. We cannot control external events, but we can control how we respond to them. By choosing silence, we exercise self-mastery, which is the foundation of Stoic wisdom. Seneca, a prominent Stoic philosopher, stated, "Silence is a lesson learned through life's many storms." This quote reflects the power of silence as a tool for reflection, emotional control, and growth. It reminds us that silence is not the absence of words, but an active decision to remain composed and grounded in the face of adversity. Why silence is more powerful than words? In our modern society, we are constantly encouraged to speak up, to assert ourselves, and to be heard. Social media, public discourse, and even personal relationships place an emphasis on vocalizing our opinions. In such an environment, silence can seem counterintuitive, even passive. But the Stoics understood that silence is not about withdrawing from life. It's about choosing not to be swept away by the tides of external noise. The power of silence lies in its ability to disrupt the flow of conflict. When we remain silent, we create space between stimulus and reaction. In that space, we can choose a response that aligns with our values rather than reacting impulsively. Silence gives us the opportunity to observe the situation without becoming emotionally entangled in it. We are not allowing ourselves to be swept up in the heat of the moment, and in doing so, we preserve our dignity, calm, and composure. Marcus Aurelius, one of the most revered Stoic emperors, wrote, "When you are about to embark on a great task, think about what kind of person you must be in order to succeed. You will need patience, temperance, fortitude, and an inner peace that no external force can disturb." Silence is the tool that helps us cultivate that inner peace. Silence is a tool for self-control. Self-control is one of the cornerstones of Stoic philosophy. It is the ability to resist impulsive reactions and to act in accordance with reason rather than emotion. The Stoics believe that the true power of a person lies in their ability to master their emotions, not in the external circumstances or events that happen to them. In our daily lives, we often encounter situations that trigger emotional reactions, whether it's anger, frustration, or anxiety. In these moments, silence becomes a tool of self-control. Instead of reacting in anger or frustration, we can choose to remain silent, to pause and to reflect on the situation before speaking or acting. This moment of silence allows us to gather our thoughts and make a response that is more thoughtful, more composed, and more aligned with our values. Seneca also reminds us, "No man is free who is not master of himself." By practicing silence, we reclaim control over our emotions and actions. It is through this practice that we become the masters of our own lives. The role of silence in conflict resolution. Conflict is a natural part of human interaction. Whether it's in the workplace, in personal relationships, or even within our families, disagreements and misunderstandings arise. In these moments, our first instinct might be to speak, to defend ourselves, or to prove our point. However, Stoicism teaches us that silence can often be the most powerful response. When we remain silent in the face of conflict, we avoid escalating the situation. We give ourselves the space to think, to cool down, and to avoid saying something we might regret. Silence in conflict is not a form of retreat. It's a deliberate choice to maintain control over the situation. It allows us to respond with clarity and purpose, rather than reacting out of emotion. Silence can also create space for the other person to express their thoughts and feelings. By choosing to listen, instead of immediately speaking, we show respect for the other person's perspective. In this way, silence becomes a bridge, not a wall. Silence and emotional resilience. Life is filled with challenges, both big and small. The Stoics understood that true resilience is not about avoiding pain or hardship, but about learning to remain steady in the face of it. Silence plays a vital role in building this emotional resilience. When we encounter adversity, our natural instinct is to react, whether it's to feel angry, upset, or defensive. However, the Stoic approach teaches us that by remaining silent, we create the opportunity to process our emotions in a healthy way. Instead of letting our emotions dictate our responses, we can choose to pause and reflect. This allows us to maintain control over our emotional state, even in difficult circumstances. Epictetus, another key Stoic philosopher, said, "It's not what happens to you, but how you react to it that matters." In moments of adversity, silence gives us the time and space to reflect on how we want to respond. It helps us find peace amidst chaos and gives us the strength to endure. Silence in decision-making. In today's world, there is often pressure to make decisions quickly. Whether it's in our personal lives or in our careers, we're constantly urged to act fast, to make choices on the spot, and to follow through immediately. But Stoicism teaches us the value of taking our time, especially when it comes to making important decisions. Silence plays a key role in decision-making. By taking a moment to step back, we can think clearly about the consequences of our actions. We can assess our options, weigh the pros and cons, and make a decision that aligns with our values and long-term goals. Silence gives us the space to reflect on our choices rather than acting impulsively. Silence as a path to inner peace. Ultimately, the Stoic philosophy teaches us that peace does not come from external circumstances, but from within. Silence is one of the most powerful tools for cultivating this inner peace. By embracing silence, we give ourselves the opportunity to disconnect from the chaos of the world and reconnect with our own thoughts and emotions. In silence, we can reflect on our lives, evaluate our actions, and connect with our inner values. It is in these moments of stillness that we gain clarity, wisdom, and insight. And from that place of inner peace, we are better equipped to face the challenges of the world with calm, resilience, and strength. The end of the journey, the power of silence. The Stoics understood that silence is not an absence, but a presence. It is not about withdrawing from the world, but about engaging with it in a more intentional and thoughtful way. Through silence, we master our emotions, make better decisions, and build stronger relationships. We create space for reflection, empathy, and clarity. In a world that constantly demands that we speak, that we react, that we assert ourselves at every turn, the Stoic wisdom reminds us that sometimes the most powerful thing we can do is remain silent. By choosing silence, we regain control over our minds, our emotions, and our lives. And in doing so, we gain the strength to navigate the world with wisdom, grace, and resilience. If you found this video insightful, be sure to like, share, and subscribe to the channel. Join us as we continue to explore the timeless wisdom of Stoicism and learn how to incorporate these principles into your daily life. Remember, true power often lies in the moments of silence we choose, not in the words we say. Stay strong, stay wise, and I'll see you in the next video.